Luke, second topic time.
Okay. With that in mind, BC, let me pitch this one to you, if I may. So, let's talk about Tom Aspinall. Tom Aspinall needed literally 60 seconds, just 60 seconds, to demolish Curtis Blaydes. Of course, this was a rematch from 2022. He defended his interim title before a somewhat respectful call out of Jon Jones. My first question to you is this, BC. Has Aspinall effectively backed Jones into a corner, thanks to, of course, his quick ascension and timely call out of him, where anyone whispers of a post-Miocic retirement might become a big enough stain on his resume that it's not even worth attempting anymore?
I didn't think we could be here so quickly, but I think we're actually here. I think this actually may have worked out perfectly for Tom Aspinall, meaning that things went the way they did. Jon getting injured, which opened up the interim title opportunity, but which also kind of pushed down his standing as we are all going to sit here and wait a year for Jon Stipe to happen again. But Luke, the wait has allowed Aspinall to continue to do exactly what he just did in the rematch of his only loss in the UFC against Curtis Blaydes, which is come out here and be this real deal heavyweight 2.0, quick hands, quick feet, no flaws in the game. But even if they are, we're not going to find out because this guy doesn't go past the second round. Luke, I'm starting to believe here that because the call out, I wanted him to kind of shake the cage of Jon. Instead, he went with the polite route. In fact, let's listen to it first, and then I'll follow my point.
Hello, Jon. I have nothing against you personally, but I just think I'm better than you. I just know that I can beat you in a fight, so I'm coming for it.
Luke, no insults of Jon and his police history, but didn't need to. He's leaning on the competitive side of it. I'm here. I've arrived. I think I'm better than you. Let's do it. Now, if he makes that statement a year ago, I could still see Jon Jones going, yeah, dude, you're probably not even going to be anything. I don't need to hang around for you and risk it. But because Aspinall is staying busy and now he's got 3 first-round finishes since that knee injury and that loss to Blaydes, has the 100% finish rate, I think he is taking such a leap where we're not even opening with the question of, does this performance tell you that the real best heavyweight in the world is Tom Aspinall? We're all sort of just saying that, accepting it as fact, because we've seen Jon Jones for so little at heavyweight. But Luke, I think it's already at the point now where if Jon Jones beats Stipe in November and takes the mic at Madison Square Garden and says, I've had a great career, goodbye, they will boo him out of that building. And I actually think they would be rightfully so in doing it. I don't think this is a time where Jon Jones can do this and get away with it. Now, he may not even be thinking about it anymore. Did you see his tweet? He basically said, shout out to supply and demand, which does tell you to some degree of
what did that even mean?
I think it's more Jon saying, okay, now that the demand is here, now that everybody wants this, now that Tom did his part, and now they're just looking at me, well, I'm going to look back at you, UFC. Pay that man his money. Give me that Wilder money. Luke, that was going to be my follow-up question back to you on this, ultimately. Yes, I think Jon Jones is backed into a corner where he must take this fight now if he beats Stipe. But are you of that belief here that what Aspinall is doing, that he's just running through people, Luke, that if Jon does this, dude, this won't leave. This will be a thing forever if he walks away. Now, Jon's too good now. You can't walk away. You can't leave this man standing because I think Jon's heavyweight reign will just become an asterisk in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I mean, if he doesn't take it, he's ducking. Let's just be very clear about it. If you don't take it, I mean, you could already argue he's ducking, but okay, the fight was on the books and they want to see it through, however stupid that might be. Okay, all right, they have a contractual relationship that they need to figure out. But after that, if he doesn't take it, and of course he doesn't have to, he's ducking. He's ducking.
So
flatly.
Does he deserve Deontay Wilder money to take this risk? Is this the fight now where you pay for what he's worth? And what he's worth, he's the greatest of all time.
Whatever my disagreements with Jon, he has always been right that he deserved Deontay Wilder money. Yeah. He sold more than Deontay Wilder ever sold. He absolutely deserves Deontay Wilder money. And I have no problem defending Jon asking for Deontay Wilder money. Now, Deontay Wilder money got a little bit crazy at times, but, the difference between them, even if you went halfway, would still be a great gesture for him and would be totally deserved for the level of accomplishment that he has in the general expanse of his career that he has experienced. So that's fine. I think the lesson from UFC 304 for me, BC, is that the division is moving on without him. Like, he is doing the Canelo bit, right?
Yes.
Listen, if Canelo retired today, he goes into the Hall of Fame. If Jon retired today, he's already in the Hall of Fame for the Gustafsson fight, but obviously he would go in. He's the greatest light heavyweight by a million miles, not even question.
He's the greatest fighter.
Arguably greatest fighter, but I'm saying at a bare minimum, he's the very best 205-pound fighter that's ever lived. No problem. Easy claim. But he's taking on a contender that has zero business fighting him, who makes a mockery of the title being on the line. Now, Stipe obviously has a great career, and obviously had a much better career than Edgar Berlanga's had a career. In that sense, they're not the same. But he's been off for almost 4 years, and the last time he was out...
5? When
it's a long time, and he got viciously KO'd the last time that he competed. That's not a fight worthy of the UFC title. You're literally taking one fight against a guy who kind of shit the bed, but whatever. You got that fight, and then you're seeking out a 42-year-old semi-retired fireman. Yes, I know Stipe has had a great career, but that's who he is today, is a semi-retired fireman.
March of 21 was Stipe's last
right. So we're talking about nearly 4 years to the point where he hasn't won in what? He hasn't won in almost 5.
Yes.
That's a joke. That's a joke. That has no business taking place for a UFC title. That is such a ridiculous joke. Meanwhile, they can't find a ranked heavyweight to take Tom Aspinall past the fucking 2-minute mark.
This is
past the 2-minute mark. He is a decade into his career and only this weekend surpassed the 40-minute mark in total fight time. He is blowing the doors off of the division. We should just say it outright. Whatever the difference is in terms of their titles on paper, Jon's title on paper is more significant because he is on paper the undisputed champion. Tom Aspinall is the UFC heavyweight champion.
because he's out here earning it.
Tom Aspinall is your UFC heavyweight champion, and their resumes at heavyweight are not even comparable.
Yeah. I mean, he's going in there against Pavlovich when he's on that streak and knocking him out early before he gets a chance to set up. So, Luke, look, the narratives move quickly in this game. A lot of people have podcast hours to fill. We do that a lot too. But people are already starting to say, like, he's showing us that he's building the foundation to give you the greatest career of a heavyweight in history. Now, I mean, there's always going to be that problem. Are we talking about UFC history or are we talking about we're comparing to Fedor? But let's just say UFC history for a second. Obviously, he's not there because he hasn't accomplished it yet. But the speed and ease in which Tom Aspinall is slicing through the competition up to this point, like, is he building something that could lead him to being heavyweight 2.0 and maybe the greatest fighter this division has ever seen?
Well, here's the funny part about all of that. His offense is... it's nuclear powered, right? We talked about it, his foot speed, his hand speed, and his power. I mean, he dropped Blaydes with a jab.
Yeah, with a heavy-ass jab. Yeah.
The right hand didn't even land on him. And then his finishing flurries are, well, once that gets going, you know, the feeding frenzy is over.
Did Blaydes have an argument for it being stopped?
So what I would say about the stoppage itself, if I may, is that what the argument is what by the time Goddard intervened, right at the same time, you can actually see Blaydes building his base back up.
Sure.
But the thing is, Goddard let him have a chance. There was an amount of time he let expire where he wasn't doing anything, and Tom is pounding on him. It does qualify as non-intelligent defense, and it went on long enough for Goddard to have intervened. So was Blaydes completely knocked into unconsciousness? No. But Goddard, you know, we beat referees up all the time for bad calls. I don't think this is one of those. I think it's a justifiable stoppage based on the information and the situation that
fair.
Goddard had encountered. But I forgot the point we were on before.
The point we were on is Aspinall showing you
right
that where the hype lives up to it.
This is why the Jon Jones fight kind of needs to happen among any other number of reasons, like for title unification, for legacy, for the whole 9 yards. But the other one is this, dude, there is still a lot that is not known about Aspinall's game. And he cross steps, he leans back all the time. He makes bad decisions in the stand-up department defensively. He gets hit because he plays a little bit reckless. There's been 2 takedown attempts on him by people who weren't even really good at wrestling, and he stuffed both of them. Jon Jones versus Tom Aspinall is any number of things. But one of the things that it is at its core is a highly intriguing fight just on style terms. Just on that, because how did Jon beat Cyril Gane? It was with the wrestling up against the fence and everything else. And of course, Gane shit the bed. I expect Tom to put up a much sturdier fight in that regard. But like, how does Tom's cardio look after 15 minutes? We have no fucking idea.
Just like we have no idea what Jon looks like at heavyweight after a minute.
There's so many questions for that reason alone.
Is this the biggest
it's a
fight
great
in the sport right now? Because if your answer is yes, then I say, is this the fight that Turki Al-Sheikh and Saudi should come in and give the same type of financial investment that they do for the really big boxing ones, for how much it seems Turki wants to make Crawford Canelo right now more than anything. He's making everything we want in boxing. Is this the right fight so that Jon Jones can finally get his Wilder money? Because he does deserve it. This is a big test and big risk. If Ngannou's not walking through that door, and he's not, Tom is that next guy. I want to see Jon paid for it. Do you put this, Luke, in a stadium in Las Vegas, in a stadium in the UK, on Saudi soil because they have to pay for it? Is this fight big enough to be one of those cultural milestones in the history of our fandom?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes, it is. I mean, I don't know if you could do a soccer stadium. I don't quite know how that would work, but this is a premier. Like, when you think about the biggest fights that can be made in MMA, and certainly the biggest fights that can be made in the UFC, because the Francis Ngannou equation is an interesting one still too. But nevertheless, if we're just talking about the UFC, strictly that universe there, Conor coming back is obviously going to be big. I think Max and Volk is certainly going to have some level of acclaim. But Jon Jones versus Tom Aspinall for the undisputed heavyweight title is easily, if not the biggest, top three, and probably the biggest of importance, of relevance, of style contrast, and I don't think we're having generational this battles
conversation if he doesn't walk through Blaydes in the manner he did, in the same manner he did Pavlovich. Like, he's just slicing right through these people.
I don't think Jon wants to fight either of those guys, either Blaydes or Pavlovich. I mean, he even said, remember when he quoted me, saying it wasn't even worth it? Tom Aspinall beat Pavlovich and Blaydes in a combined 2 minutes and 9 seconds. Like, dude, this is the guy. This is the guy at heavyweight. This is the flag bearer. I don't give a fuck whether it says interim in front of his title or not. That's the guy. And either Jon Jones wants to do something about that because he thinks his title is more important, or he wants to duck.
He made that happen.
Those are the choices in front of him.
You know what? Tom made this happen quick. He escalated this conversation because of how quickly he continues to ratchet up his game and raise that potential.
Let me say this.
I think Jon has to answer the phone now, Luke. I think he does.
I think he does too. Let me say this. I had mentioned this point before where Jon had said something that I do think is true, which is he's seen so many guys be like, I'm coming for you, Jon, and then they get tripped up along the way. Phil Davis is the biggest one, where he thought he was going to fight Jon, had to fight Rumble, and then Rumble had another thing for him, and it completely derailed everything. And I think Jon has been waiting for history to play out that way again, except the exact opposite is happening. They keep putting guys in front of Tom Aspinall, and he keeps mowing them the fuck down. This is it. It is either fight Aspinall or duck and then live with the consequences of it. Those are the choices in front of him.
Well, Aspinall has an interesting idea for this fall in November. Let's hear that.
Here's a thought for you. I was thinking about this the other day. What about, so they're saying that Stipe and Jon Jones are going to fight in MSG in November. Why don't we do a tournament? We'll do Jon, Stipe, me, Alex, and do a 4-man tournament, 2 fights in one night, and let's find out who the real heavyweight champion of the world is. Like, we've got the best heavyweight of all time. We've got the best MMA fighter of all time. We've got the light heavyweight champion, and then we've got me, who's just a poxy interim champion. Do you know what I mean? Let's do that, 2 fights in one night. Put it to Dana. I'm sure Dana's going to be here in a minute. And he's been.
Dana didn't really like the idea of him moving up.
No, I don't. I am honestly the biggest fan of Alex Pereira. Like, he's one scary guy. But would that not be a cool little thing? 2 fights in one night. Let's see how we get on. I mean, I've got the lowest average fight time in the UFC.
Luke, that's almost giving us gravy on top of our gravy right there. Is that a great idea, or do you not need to risk the Jones fight by doing something like that?
I mean, I would still favor Tom to win that one, just because I think Tom would run him down and try and take him down and sub him out like he did against Volkov. I think you get something similar in that way. But I just want to point this out. Like, dude, look at this fucking guy. Yes, would he have some advantages and be the favorite over a guy like Poatan, for as great as Poatan is? Tom would still have a lot of advantages. He's not necessarily calling out somebody who would be the favorite over him. But who is he not calling out?
I know.
That people want him to fight. Who is he avoiding? Nothing. Oh, that you want me to fight the big scary Brazilian motherfucker? Sign me up. Jon Jones, where are you at? Sign me up. He'll fight. If they offered him a fight with Francis, do you think Tom Aspinall turns that down? Not in a million fucking years. Does this guy, and everybody else has, well, I don't know. What about the time? What about the place? This guy is absolutely your huckleberry. It does not
I got to
matter
agree with Dana, though.
opponent or circumstances.
I got to agree with Dana, but it's with a caveat. If Jon Jones is not going away, and by the way, I think it does come down to money. I think it really just comes down to money. If they pay Jon Jones what he wants, as long as it's not crazy astronomical, I think the fight gets done. I think Jon deserves that. I want them to have that happen. But Luke, I don't think we need to do this. We don't need, if Jon Jones is around, we don't need Pereira to move up to heavyweight now. It seems to be you could put a dent in him, and it really could get in the way of that potential trilogy bout with Adesanya for the light heavyweight title. So I agree with that. But yeah, this Jon Jones Aspinall fight could be massive. The only thing I like about what Aspinall is saying with the doubleheader is this is old school promotion. What we really want is the Jones versus Aspinall. So let's put the two on the same card in fights that they could lose, but let's see what we got. And then we'll bang the drum. You don't need to do that here. But man, if I'm going to be greedy, Luke, yeah. I mean, imagine Poatan crashing that party. Imagine him, being like, sorry, Tom, this is and this is the end of my video game. Either way, I think both can keep. I think Tom, yeah, Jon Jones is going to be here. He's going to take it. Luke, Jon Jones is a competitor deep inside. You have to respect that in him. That's why I was shocked by this talk of retirement. But maybe it's more about first planning the disrespect to Aspinall. You're down here. I'm up here. I'm the real champion. You gotta give a guy. You gotta let the guy cock out and do that. All right, rock out with your cock out. But
dicks out for her romp.
I think ultimately Jon's just like, pay me the respect for taking this risk, right?
Yeah.
Pay me it. Come on, let's
yeah,
do it.
fine. If his argument is you got to come up off your pockets to get me to do this,
Let's go.
I don't have any issue with
Let's
that.
go.
Any A side deserves to do that. But I'm just going to say, if what's really been happening is he's been killing time and picking an opponent who is, I mean, as done in MMA as you possibly can be, short of an announced retirement. Also, he could avoid this fucking juggernaut from the UK. It's shameful. There's nothing shameful about his light heavyweight run, which was one of the most ridiculous things I've ever seen.
No, you don't have to read that again. That's right.
But this would be shameful.
This would be. I mean, it would be for Canelo too, but that's another story.